The person being served removed a machete, panga. Akamwambia kule makaratasi ya koti na soda ya Coke. The case of estate of Mbio Koinange. It's an old case that was filed in 1981. Represent over 4,000 peasants who are ready to be evicted by the person of Dr. William Samoei Ruto.
This is Justice Today. My name is Faith Karanja. I'm here at lawyer Mwenda Njagi's law firm, where we have come to demystify more about law, and all your questions are going to be answered today. And we are introducing him unto you. This is law firm where all the clients that come always meet here. Please introduce yourself and provide an overview of your legal background and expertise.
Thank you, Faith. My name is Peter Njagi. I'm the managing partner of Mwenda Njagi Company Advocates. Mwenda Njagi Company Advocates is one of the leading law firms in Kenya. We have 10 associates we work with here, and we deal with almost all areas of law. But on my own personality and interest and strength, I'm more keen on 3 areas of practice of law: criminal law, family and succession law, and children law, all of them as one, and alternative dispute resolution, that is mediation, arbitration, conciliation, and adjudication. And within that particular head, maybe something to say about myself is that I'm married and I have 3 children. I think you can see them there. And I would say, even if I had another life, I could not choose anything better to do other than law. It's something that I'm very keen on, and something that brings a lot of joy and satisfaction to my career and my life. And what drives me is when a client walks in to this office when they have a problem and they're able to come out a problem having solved, I feel a lot of joy and satisfaction. Maybe for the drive, what moves me and maybe something I've learned in my practice of law is that when a client comes and discloses material or information or seeks advice to a counsel, what maybe the client may not know, any serious lawyer would take that matter seriously and do it, but that burden and that weight is transferred to a lawyer. So if somebody entrusts me with work, I take it, they have a lot of hope in me, and the least I can do is to at least I meet with the expectation. Maybe lastly, I would say is that I'm also active in many other areas, which I do in terms of Mwenda Njagi Foundation, which I run to give back to society. In terms of education, that is my bias. I support needy children, and I pay school fees and school expenses for needy cases. And I have narrowed down to Thika constituency, where I'm doing that particular pro bono work in terms of the foundation. And also we have a professional department whereby needy legal cases which may require legal services, we offer them here in this law firm. We have no branch, we have only one this place, because I have realized that law is a very selfish mistress. You can hardly do 2 things and be successful, or you can still do and be successful, but it's demanding. And I opted to compress this particular address to cater for where I was before. Before I was running my practice in Westlands and Thika, and I compressed them into this particular one place, and I find it a good address and a convenient place. And lastly is that I also do other things for fun. Among them, I play golf, and I'm a member of a golf club, and I find it a good thing, maybe as a way of relaxing and walking. Thank you. We are based at Ciata City Mall, Kiambu Road, Block A, that floor. Our email address is info@mwendanjagilaw.co.ke, and our mobile number is 0718 810 300. We practice diverse areas of law with the able assistance of my associates, lawyers who we work with, who are 10 in number.
Okay, thank you very much. What inspired you to pursue a career in law, and also what led you to specialize in that particular area of practice?
Very oftenly, Faith, I'll tell you that most lawyers say that what led them to pursue law is to assist the society, and I think I'm no exception, because I also think that what also motivated me to pursue the very exceptional discipline of the practice of law was that I felt that I wanted to give back to society, I wanted to fight for social justice, and I felt that it's an area that I felt I had strong abilities, because remember, before you do law, there are some tests that you do, including English and some area like humanities, which I was good at in high school, and I felt that's an area in law, and I'm happy that I chose that particular line of path.
Okay, could you share with us some of the notable projects that you have worked on in the past, and that those ones that have had significant impact in your career?
Thank you for that particular question. What comes to my mind is the case of estate of Mbio Koinange. It's an old case that was filed in 1981, way before some of us were born. I ended up representing the first son of the first estate, David John Mbio Koinange, at the Supreme Court of Kenya, and we did well. And what is very unique about that case is that the man had died with 4 wives, and I was representing the first house. I remember there were the other lawyer for the second house, third house, and fourth house. Among the lawyers that I recall for the third house was Amenasil Abdullahi, senior counsel for the third house, senior counsel Honorable Paul Moite for the fourth house, and I think there was Ocheng Kibet and Ohaga for the second house. What was distinct between me and the second house, we were of the same thought that when you're subdividing a polygamous home or a polygamous man estate, you should use the number of children. Like in our case, or in my house, there were six children. In the second house, there were 5 children. In the third and fourth house, there were no children. And of course, the third and fourth house were saying that you should use something they were called the Kikuyu customary law, which they were calling Gedaku, that you should subdivide the estate into 4 portions, 25, 25, 25%. But seems our argument carried the day that we should use the number of children, because my argument was very simple, that even the first house and the second house has more stomachs to feed, and that's carried the day. And I remember that was a very Solomonic ruling by the Honorable Justice Mucherule, as he then was sitting in the High Court Family Division, who is now a judge of Appellate Court. The other case that rings a bell is a case that has been trending recently. That is the Dabibi farm in Naivasha, where we represent over 4,000 peasants who are alleged to be evicted by the person of Dr. William Samoei Ruto, who is alleged to be the owner, as was alluded by the area MP Jane Kihara in a public forum. Lastly, is the other case that I think, and why the Dabibi farm is keen to me, is the sanctity of title and the issue to do with the land records. And the records are there and they speak themselves. The matter is alive in court. Lastly, is a case that touches on Westwick College, whereby I was able to secure a warrant of arrest against well-known blogger, BNN. What is the other name of BNN? Nakundi? Obare, because I think he defamed my client and my client felt very strongly about it. Yes. But he has to execute the warrant because he cannot be found. And what I find unique about that case is that it was a question about when the rights of another person starts, that's when your rights end. So that even if you're a journalist or you have the freedom of expression to even blog and to say many things in media as you wish, you should be cognizant that that one should also not malign the hard-earned reputation of a person. So it was a unique case because it tested the limits of journalistic work, tested the limits of a keyboard warrior, tested the limits of also fighting a virtual person who you are not seeing.
Okay. Thank you very much. Of course, you are an outstanding lawyer. What do you think makes you different from the other legal practitioners?
One thing that I have done deliberately over my practice is that I've been deliberate in terms of access to my clients, because one of the things that I hear most clients complaining is that the law is unavailable, you need an appointment, you need to pay consultation fees, you need to maybe go through the channels, but I've been deliberate to be accessible. And I think that has been a source of my success in the context that I don't charge consultation fees. If you come through the door and you want to see me, it's free of charge. Even if you're an old client and you're coming to look at your file, other firms even charge maybe an old client X amount, new client this amount. no consultation fee, no charges. And I think that any person who would be keen to come and look for me at this particular address most likely has a genuine case which he wants addressed. The other thing is I try as much as possible to return calls and be accessible to my clients, and I think that has been a very big element towards our growth and success, because that particular availability means a lot. I also am a very strong believer in issuing a platform to young lawyers who are coming up. If you walk around, and I'll take you around through the farm, you'll see that you have young lawyers who are very well to do. And what I've learned from my experience with them is that if you just give somebody a platform, they're likely to even exceed your expectation. So I believe in the work of delegation, but also supervised delegation, but most importantly, in terms that I don't want to kill myself with work. I would rather go out there, look for work, then the workers are here and we work together as well.
Okay, in your own opinion, please tell us what are the most common misconceptions or misunderstanding that people have about your area of expertise.
I'll start maybe by the general feeling about a misconception of a lawyer. Many of the times that people call you and they tell you, "I'll kill you a quick one." And maybe what they don't know, that a lawyer's tools in trade or the stock that a client sells is two things: the advice and the time. So the moment maybe you ask for a quick one, you should also know that that is, you're eating into stock. And it's a misconception, because if you're to go like to Naivas Market here at Runda, where we're in this building at Ciata Mall, you can't go there and maybe take a soda without paying, because their stock is real. But when you come here, you may not find things that you're selling hard copy, but you're selling a service. So maybe somebody may feel, why am I paying so much? But it also boils down to the service you're offering. The other misconception is my area of law, because I have an interest in criminal law, is that maybe the person was, there's some criminal matters that are very emotive. So that even if you take that matter, already the court of public opinion has found somebody, or they have found that person as guilty. But as a criminal lawyer, because that's what I practice and have a keen interest on, is that I find that every person should have their day in court, and also circumstances on how the crime was committed would vary, or the circumstances would be different. So I think everybody should have their day in court. Lastly, is there some cases that I have chosen deliberately not to take. Cases like defilement, I'm very hesitant to take. Cases like rape, even if I'm a criminal lawyer, because it's also good to draw a line, especially in an area you may not feel comfortable about. But I took a defilement case once when I was a young lawyer, when I was coming up, and it showed the extent some people can go to malign somebody's name, because in that case I was like 2 years post-admission. And it was a very big case for defilement for a young lawyer then, when I was then. And my experience was that the man had opened a school in somewhere in Gong. The school was doing very well. He brought his son from Meru. The son was not put up in the school. And he tells me because of the growth he was experiencing, but the hate that was emanating from the community or business rivals, they framed him for defilement. And you know, that one, nobody would wish to touch. But I'm happy I was able to convince the court. And that's my experience, that kind of line. But I was convinced that the man, it was used to set up personal scores.
Okay, thank you. How do you stay updated on changes and developments in the law within your area of practice?
Excellent. That's a very excellent question. I think the Law Society of Kenya has a very elaborate and extensive way of how to keep lawyers informed through the continuing legal education, which is a mandatory requirement for a practicing advocate like me to renew the practicing license, and you're required to at least have 5 CPD points, but that's a minimum. And during those particular CPDs, you're able to meet your professional colleagues, you're able to meet people's and authorities in that area. You're also able to maybe share your experiences. So you attend those CLEs, and you can choose an area of an interest. Because if I have an area of interest, maybe like mediation, I may choose maybe to attend the CLE in July and book then. The other area in terms of updating, I'm a strong believer in the youth and in young people. And in this office, we even have dummy courts in our boardroom, whereby we even maybe have a case and we brainstorm about that case. One person acts like the defendant, the other is a plaintiff, and we criticize each other. And because of that criticism, you're able to see new developments of law, new areas of law. Like recently, we had a case here, which just came into my mind upon that question, and we had a case to do with the land question in Kitengela, very expansive land, and the issue was the title, and the other person has an allotment letter. And in the course of our discussion here, just here, one of the lawyers here informed us that actually there's a Supreme Court judgment which had recently been pronounced that an allotment letter does not necessarily behoove you a title. So that's an area of law, and I would imagine that any lawyer wants to grow, the only thing to do is you have to be in practice and also expose yourself to the right environment.
Can you discuss any recent legal trends or emerging issues that you find particularly interesting or relevant?
Thank you. The Honorable Justice Mutunga, President of the Supreme Court of Kenya, Emeritus, brought something very wonderful in this republic and in the judicial system, what we call judiciary accredited mediator. I was the first lot to be admitted as a mediator in 2016, and number 054. And what I find interesting, and I remember during our admission by Mutunga at the Judiciary Institute here at Muthaiga, he told us that even if a case can go and be heard under a tree, it would help ease the backlog. From 2016 to now, because I think that was the first lot for the admitted mediators, we are looking at around how many years? 8 years, thereabout. And the judiciary report, which was given recently by Honorable Lady Justice Kendago, who was recently appointed as the judge of the Superior Court when she was sitting as a Deputy Registrar of Mediation, and we had a session at Strathmore University. It has got my attention that we have been able to release billions of shillings to the economy because of this ADR. So I'd encourage anybody who wants maybe a platform to consider mediation. You can be listed as a mediator from the judiciary, you can do it as part-time, and you can easily get that exposure because even there are the lawyers who appear before you. Lastly, in terms of the emerging trends, there is a question about maybe media and social media which is coming up, but I think that is more in developed nation because I've been seeing like some lawyers in foreign jurisdiction, like in USA, having a TikTok, which we know is essentially used for entertainment, but giving small, what they could call legal nuggets or words of wisdom or areas which people can engage to and be able to reach a wide pool of people. But that one should be measured because also the law provides for areas and guidelines which needs to be construed like your advertisement.
Thank you very much. There are those businesses and companies and also individuals out there who are facing specific or various legal challenges. What would you advise them?
Maybe you could explain what kind of challenges you have in mind.
For example, there are people who have these disputes like land disputes, inheritance, and other things, and they don't know where to go and look their help from.
That's a very good question. I need to say that the era where you tell somebody, let's meet in court, is long gone.
Yes.
That era is the era of what you say, Nisiku za Nyayo. It's an old era. So that going to court does not necessarily show that you have power. Even I think the two of you end up exhausting yourself. And I think the first important thing, because I want to split your question into three phases. The first question about business, you're as good as the documents you prepare.
Yes.
I think people rushed into businesses very fast without first of all understanding their modus operandi. You start a partnership, there's no partnership deed. You go and buy shares in a company, there is no memorandum or articles or even how to split. Whether you're a nominal partner, whether you're a major partner, whether you'll only be sharing profits or whether you're also entitled to take some liability in terms of losses. So I think a good business is as good as its documents it's hinged upon. The second issue about land is that any transaction in land should be reduced in writing. It boils down to writing. So that then, if now you don't pay maybe the balance after a certain period of time, you don't lose up your 10% deposit. And you see somebody ends up selling the land twice or thrice, but when you come to claim, you say, I gave him the money through M-Pesa. But the law is clear that any agreement land should be reduced in writing. So I'd like to encourage our people and the listeners to consider investing in legal services, because that amount you may pay a lawyer to prepare for you the agreement, maybe they want to save you tomorrow when you're exposed to a big danger. Lastly, in terms of challenges, which I was also thinking challenges and opportunities, is that this challenge should be like succession matters. I would also like to encourage our people to learn the art of writing a will. The question that when you write a will, you're going to expire, you're going to die, should be wrong, because the beauty of a will, if it is withheld by the court, you are able to explain or dictate how you wish your estate to be divided, even if you're 6 foot under. That's the beauty of it. So that then, if that will is withheld, you're able to distribute your assets as you wish, and even doing it when you're still alive, so that these succession matters and people stay too long fighting would be a thing of the past. So it's good for people to consider writing and seeking legal advice in terms of drafting a will.
Okay. How do you approach your client communication and collaboration to ensure that their needs are met and their expectations are managed effectively?
Thank you, Faith. What is important is that any client that is approaching the lawyer wants to win a case. To me, it's a case that's a dispute. So maybe to manage them, you have to assure them that you put your legal foot forward. Any lawyer cannot assure you 100% success or 100% failure. So to manage the expectation, I use words like, you have a strong case, which a high chance of success, or it's a difficult case, but we'll find a way around. I think those words mean a lot, and the client will understand where they stand. Because if you tell them that the case is a bit tight on their side, but they should consider it, maybe in terms of even solving it out of court. The other thing is communication is important. I prefer communication through WhatsApp as opposed to emails. And why I do that, because the clients I deal with are people who are more likely to be Juakali people or business people, and I would imagine that will be the best forum. But of course, if you're dealing with corporates and those people who are in the panels, they would maybe opt for emails. So I would imagine communication should be tailor-made from case to case basis. And what I normally do in this office, I have a WhatsApp group, so that any advocate who gets online or does some work, they write for me a small brief. The quorum was this way, the person was this way, they post on the group. With that particular item, I'm able to forward the client, they see what happened in court and what transpired. Okay. But I would say most of my communication is through WhatsApp and maybe a phone call, but I try to reduce phone calls because there's only so many calls I can make.
And you also avoid emails?
Emails I don't do because of the nature of the clients I'm handling.
Okay.
But I would imagine people who are in banks and people who are doing charging, people in panels, they're good to go. Yes.
Can you share some of any strategies or best practices of avoiding legal disputes or minimizing legal risks in criminal law? Some of the practices that you use to avoid.
You'll be surprised that criminal law is a very diverse area of law, because even a conveyancing matter can end up being a criminal matter. For example, somebody comes here and tells you, wakili, huyu ni mtu yangu, tunajuana na yeye, nataka tu ile stamp ya wakili. What they're not telling you is that you have a duty of care to conduct a search on that title. You have a duty of care to even do a KYC on that person. So that if you just stamp and maybe the issue becomes fraudulent, and because they had come either in a sale agreement or a transfer form, what they're not telling you is that tomorrow you may be called upon to give an issue or the detail of that particular agreement, because the stamp is on record. So don't be in a hurry to execute a search. If somebody wants that muhuri, just be candid with them, be honest with them, and tell them I cannot stamp even if you're my friend, because it would mean I have some burden and some legal duties to do to you. So if you're giving me the work, give me as a conveyancer, but don't prepare your documents at River Road or elsewhere. Then tell me just want a stamp and it's a transfer.
So and you have a way of verifying the documents, or how do you go about it?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Because I will not stamp a document which I'm not seized of, a document which I've not even had a chance to interact with.
Yes.
I've not even gone to the lands office to confirm. And I'm trying to say this because those things happen and you know that's something that has even come up with the LSK, and those people are running for elections in terms of brokers. They prepare documents, then they land to lands office, but for them to be booked they must be commissioned. And I'm only trying to say that stamp for commissioner for oath means a lot. Don't do it if you're not the one who prepared that document. Don't do it if you're not the one who is acting at least for one party. Yes.
Of course, you have some areas that you have not only challenges, but there are other areas that have brought in rewards. Can you talk about some of the challenges and some of the rewarding areas that you have had in your area of practice?
I'll start with the rewards. I ran Mwenda Njagi Foundation, and Mwenda Njagi Foundation was birthed because I saw a need, particularly in the constituency.
Yes.
I also had a chance to run for Member of Parliament in last election, 2022. And that foundation basically helps the young people who are not able to access education, and it gives them a platform on what maybe they can be able to do tomorrow. And it has been marvelous and a wonderful experience, and that's my way of giving back to the community. And also I had a chance also to be blessed by Mbuzi, the one client who I assisted. It was a church.
Okay.
They had a land dispute in Kiambu, and the pastor called me of that church.
Yeah.
And the gift was very unique because I had to pack a Mbuzi for alive. And those rewards, they're enormous. I also know some people get paid with chicken. I've been paid with chicken. Some can maybe in Kitale, unaweza pelekewa gorogoro ya mahindi. So there is nothing as good as when a client appreciates your work. Yes. So for me, my drive is not necessarily monetary, but a service. Okay. Because what people forget, if you render a good service, Faith, money is a reward for good service. It comes automatically, but you see some people, the drive is wrong, and that's why they may not have it. But if your motive is good, the reward will be there. And lastly, on this particular question, because I feel very strongly on it, is that the best marketing for a lawyer is word of mouth, a referral. Because the moment you do a good case to person X, they may also know and tell person Y and Z, I got sorted here. And there is, when a client is coming to you because of a referral, almost 80% of the work is done, the trust is there, it's just for you to move on. Yes.
How do you see the future of, you didn't tell us about challenges, but maybe you'll tell.
Challenges, I don't know whether AI will take over the work for lawyers. So that's something I'm curious to know.
Actually, that is forms the next question about the future.
Yes.
How do you see the future evolving?
Yes.
And the impact you think it will have in the area of practice or the legal department as a whole?
I think the lawyer in the 21st century, and particularly this particular decade, needs to be a dynamic lawyer. You remember COVID taught us a lot of things. You know, like in the old and before COVID, I know lawyers, and even some of us and those who are older before us, you could tell the client, send me X amount of money because I have to go to court. I may end up sleeping there. So on that extent, I would say maybe the income levels to some lawyers went down because now the travel cost is not there. But if you are very dynamic and when life gives you lemon, you make lemonade juice. Faith. So look at it this way. The beauty of this particular technology, which came up through the interventions of the current CJ, Lady Justice Mother Kome, is that you can even be sitting in 3-4 courts the same day. You can be having a case in Mombasa, another one in Malindi, another one in Nairobi, and you're sitting somewhere in Meru. That tells you that you have now a greater scope of work you can cover, because before you can only be one place at a time. So if you take it positively, it also means more you can cover. Lastly, you could also be alive to the fact that the IT and the advent of technology has also brought a new dynamic whereby even the people are able to get templates in terms of the work they are doing. So it is good if you have a website, maybe you could also maybe list the areas of expertise, because I also know there are people who may be in diaspora, and those people who do like in conveyancing, they can get work from there because you just itemize the things you've done, and so that you have a larger pool of people, and that's something that somebody could consider.
So the issue of service, it has been simplified.
Absolutely. You know, like before you had to do physical service. And I had an experience one day, Faith, is that somebody went to serve some court papers in Moranga. That time I think I was doing pupillage, and that clerk, when they went to serve, it was a very heated land matter. When the person being served removed a machete, panga, akamwambia kule makaratasi ya koti na soda ya coke. He refused service, so he was told to eat the papers. And that just tells the challenges of service. But now with the new rules, you can send your documents even through email.
Yes.
You can send your documents through WhatsApp, and all of them are recognized ways of service.
Yes.
And I would say that thank you so much for your time.
Yes.
And thank you for considering me for this very great interview.
Yes.
I know you're only interviewing the top lawyers in Kenya. So I'm happy for your channel to have considered me.
Yes.
And I'm grateful.
Yes.
One is that I also offer pro bono services. So even if you think you want some service, don't fear Mwenda Njagi. Just call me, look up to me, and in the case, I will gladly do it for free.
Yes, thank you.
And I'm based in Kiambu Road, Ciata City Mall, Runda, Block A, third floor. Email address info@mwendanjagilo.co.ke. Mobile number 0718 810 300. Asante sana.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Asante.